I just about lost my mind when the Mida Multi Tool got its catalyst officially changed into a catalyst that is pretty darn useful. To be honest, part of my reaction was mainly because I never thought it would really happen, and I was so tired of trying to use a weapon that I thought was such a fundamentally good all-around weapon, even though it wasn't particularly maybe great or the most competitive in some way, but it was just barely off the point of just being a solid option, I guess. But its catalyst was borderline useless and might as well have not existed. Now we have the No Distractions, which was newly buffed this season on the Mida Multi Tool, which solves, as I mentioned in a previous video, what I think is its biggest problem. For whatever reason, with the Mida Multi Tool, more so than other scouts I find, is it feels like it gets flinched really hard by a lot of weapons. And that, combined with the fact that it's not quite as easy to aim with as a hand cannon, it's not quite as forgiving, makes it really difficult to use, because not only is it harder to aim with than a hand cannon, but when you're going against hand cannons in our current 120 meta that we're still in, well, they flinch you quite a damn lot, and it makes it a lot harder for you to land shots while they're landing a lot higher damage per shot on you. But that's where No Distractions comes in, and sure, you still have to activate the perk, but it's got some really great synergy on Mida. Not only does it solve that problem that I just explained by really heavily reducing flinch, it by itself does so by 35%, and then if you're using double scout on flinching, which I strongly recommend to be using with Mida, that's another 35% reduction, and those two things stack multiplicatively. The two mods, 35% plus No Distractions, 35% stack with a multiplicative style effect, as one of the Sandbox developers, Chris Proctor, confirmed on our Firing Range podcast. So that is a very strong effect, and it's noticeable. When it's active, it feels like you are taking nearly no flinch and you're just able to peg headshots and beam people, and I think that is really awesome. Again, the major criticism of this perk on this weapon is that you're going to still have to activate No Distractions, but I think that's pretty fine. Mida has an incredibly fast aim down sight speed, it has its radar still while you're ADSing, so honestly, you're not really losing that much awareness when you're aiming down sights anyways, so what it means is you just have to pre-aim a little bit more. So when you're sliding around a corner or you're expecting someone, just be aiming down sights already. Do it earlier than you would expect, and usually once you get into the gunfight, you're going to have No Distractions activated. Or let's say you're reading the radar and you know someone's going to be in an area and you're going to try and peek it around a wall. Let's say you're going for an advantageous left peek, which ideally is what you want to be doing. You can just aim down sights already, activate No Distractions, and start jiggle peeking that left peek, which is going to be really strong because you're going to get nearly no flinch, beaming headshots, and using some pretty good cover where the camera is in your favor. In terms of pre-aiming and knowing how long in advance you have to do this for No Distractions, I believe the activation time is now 1 second, which might sound like a long time, but it's not nearly as bad as you might think. Again, if you're just playing with the mindset of trying to activate it as much as possible, pre-aiming as much as possible before gunfights. You can still play very aggressively with this because you have so much knowledge still available to you from the radar being up while you're aimed down sights. You just got to keep it in your head that you're playing to try and activate that perk as often as you can, and when you do, it really turns Mida, I think, into its true full potential, and it's awesome. So is Mida everything I wanted it to be now with this catalyst? I'd say yes. Is the weapon perfect? No. Is it a meta pick? Probably not, but it's a weapon with a lot going for it. It's got the movement speed, it's got the radar that stays up, it's got the high cals, it's got great aim assist, which makes it the most versatile scout. You can use it a lot more aggressively than other scouts, which for me, I'm just not the type of player that wants to sit back and lane. I use Mida Multi Tool like I would kind of like a hand cannon, but with more range. I don't like being entirely restricted to the range of a hand cannon, so that's why I like Mida. I know 120s kind of defeat the purpose of this, and that's why this weapon isn't as meta as you'd think in my opinion, but if we ever see a day where 120s don't have quite as much range, then Mida might get a little bit more time to shine as a cool, versatile, aggressive scout that plays similarly to a hand cannon. Again, that's why I love it. And again, with No Distractions, it allows you to have more agency and put better shots and damage a lot of the time and gives you that consistency that this weapon would lack because of its crazy flinch that it receives. The boosted movement speed is an excellent way to min-max with it. Being able to get that mobility bonus for hunters is huge, but also that sprint speed feels amazing. I believe inherently it gives a 10% or so sprint speed bonus, which is very high and close to the maximum 12.5, and it's still stackable with things like Stompies and these subclass sprint speed boosts for that 12.5. But again, it's an excellent weapon to min-max with, even though it's not a meta weapon, it's not the best weapon, it's not a 120 hand cannon per se, but again, it's incredibly versatile and it really allows you to min-max and play aggressively with a scout, and I love that. I absolutely love that. No distractions gives it, like I said many times, the consistency it needed, the little boost to be able to fight back against other weapons without feeling like your shots or reticle is just bouncing around everywhere and you can't control it, which is really, really great. Normally on my team, I am the sniper player, but I do love bringing this weapon into trials as well and trying to fill a similar style of role where I take as many angles as quickly as possible. And of course, Mida's many utilities allow me to min-max my build to do that even better, which is great. Again, the existence of 120s do pose a problem for this weapon and do hold it back from being perhaps as good as it could possibly be, but I still feel quite confident in bringing this into trials. Like I said, Mida feels like a weapon that can somewhat hang with hand cannons while being a scout rifle. It's not maybe quite as easy as other hand cannons, but as Chris mentioned on our firing range podcast, it's the only scout rifle I believe that goes over 80 aim assist, so it gets to cheat in that regard. And when you have more aim assist, when you have a greater margin of error, it means you're able to play more aggressively because you don't have to be quite as on point with your shots as you would with other scout rifles that get more forgiving only at the further and more extended ranges. I love the speed boost of Mida, and I love the radar giving you so much information while trying to get to crazy angles and cutoffs really quickly. I think that's my favorite part of the weapon, playing those off angles. And no distractions allows you to go and take an angle really, really quickly, or maybe an off radar flank, and then hold the angle in anticipation of kind of being ready for the opponent. And while you're doing that, you still get your radar, and then no distractions activates, so you're almost sure to get some really quality shots on your opponent while they're trying to shoot you and flinch you. If you're playing some good range, they're probably not going to deal max damage to you, so they're not dealing full flinch on you. And then on top of that, the no distractions and double unflinching make it so that you're pretty much always going to be shooting straight even if they are shooting you. So I think no distractions really complements the playstyle that I envision when I try and use Mida. Again, taking the off angles, getting to those angles really quickly to try and catch opponents off guard or collapse with my team, and have no distractions ready to make sure that I'm gonna beam them, that there's nothing that's gonna be inhibiting my shot for the most part. So if I had to rank this somewhere on a tier list type scale, I'd give Mida a B or maybe an A-. If 120s are kind of my S tier, 140s are my A tier, I would say Mida is a solid B. It's a great pick, lots of value. It's not the best weapon and it's inhibited by 120s, but it's got a unique playstyle that no distractions really enhances and doubles down on. So for that reason, I think you can catch some people off guard with it and they won't know how to deal with it quite as well. And it allows you to min-max your loadout, as I mentioned. So while it's not meta, I think it's everything I still expected of it and I wanted it to be. And it's in a great place right now. Any stronger individually would encourage more of a sitting back, no risk type play style, like sitting back, team shots of Mida and pulses with no reason to push type of a thing, and I don't want that. So that's why I'm really happy with the state of the weapon right now. Just talking about the Mida like this makes me so excited and want to go run it right now, so maybe I'm gonna go do that. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy.